This is Mitch, and welcome to the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. I have a special guest from San Diego, California. His name is Anton Ivanov. And what's cool about this guy is he and his wife just were in the military. They're in the Air Force. So first of all, thank you very much for your service, sir. We love you guys. You're what keep us free. They decided, that they wanted to get financially independent. And in 5 years, they amassed 40 doors, bringing in 12 grand a month. And I think that's a great accomplishment. It seems fair and reasonable, when people tell you they did it in 6 months or a year, maybe there's a little luck involved in that, or they were just phenoms or something. But 5 years to amass 12 grand is really reasonable. I think that a lot of people out there could do it. We're going to get his story as soon as I pay a little homage to my sponsor, taxfreefuture.com. Will you please go to taxfreefuture.com, watch the little 37 video vignettes there. If you don't have a self-directed tax-free or tax-deferred retirement account where you're growing your financial wealth tax-free or tax-deferred, you have no idea the size and the value of the tool you're missing. Please go to taxfreefuture.com because you will not believe what your financial advisors are not telling you. And we're going to tell you what they're not telling you. We're going to tell you why they're not telling you about it. And then you can do with what you will, but it's going to be an eye-opener. All right, Anton, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Mitch. How are you? Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So give us a little background. You're in the military. You were in the military for how long?
I was there for 6 years, and then my wife actually did more. She did 11.
11. So I guess you met your wife in the military?
We did. It was a funny story. She was my boss. So.
And she still is, brother. You just mean.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. And so give us a little background. You're in the military. What raises your head to real estate? What opens your eyes?
Yeah. So it's actually, it was kind of unfortunate circumstances how I've came to own my first property. I was in it was actually the Navy that both me and my wife were in. We were stationed out in Japan, so they sent us on a ship far away from home, all that stuff. And as I was there, both of my parents passed away really young. It wasn't kind of expected. It was just some medical issues they were going through. And they owned a property. They owned a condo in San Diego that they lived in. And while I was stationed out there, I ended up inheriting it. So I was a young kid, my early 20s, kind of looking back. At that time, I didn't have any kind of inclination towards real estate. I was just beginning the whole, getting together my finances, starting to invest in the stock market, IRA, 401k, all of that. So all of a sudden, my parents passed away. I got this property. I was a little overwhelmed because obviously it was out of state. Well, technically in a different country. I was in Japan and it was in America. I almost sold it at the time just because I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't know what to do with it. Didn't know anything about rental properties. But I did talk to a few folks that were kind of smarter than me, older than me. They said, look, why don't you not make any sudden, changes, any drastic decisions, just keep it. So they kind of helped me find a property manager locally. They took over management, and that became our first rental property. So kind of an accidental landlord experience, I guess. I know quite a few folks go through that. Maybe it's kind of under unfortunate circumstances that they get those properties, and a lot of times they do sell them. And I guess was fortunate or lucky not to do that. And I owned that property for quite some time, and I still do. And I'd say that's what really opened my eyes up to real estate. It was just, it was trickling passive income every month. It was professional managed, so I really didn't have to do anything. And I was like, hey, if I get 10, 20, 30 more properties like this, I'm set, right? I mean, that's it. If I can kind of create this business, create this system of consistently generating passive income with rental properties, then me and my wife could retire early and, we don't have to do 20, 30 years in the corporate world.
So that's what kind of happened to me. It was an accident. Everything happened to me as an accident.
Uh-huh.
Matter of fact, looking back, my whole life has been That really hurt. How do I stop that from happening again? That felt really good. How do I make that happen more often? And so
Right.
as the things in the business world started to come at me, I was running it through the same simple filter. How do I stop things I don't want to happen? And how do I multiply things I want to happen? So kind of what happened to you. You liked that little passive income trickle and you thought, how do I multiply that, right?
Exactly. And, not only that, it also kind of did another thing for me, I would say, with that one property. I meet quite a few investors. We talk, they're like, yeah, I just want to buy a couple of properties and retire. And back then, early on, I realized that having one or two properties is really not going to be enough. It's great income if that's all you want. If you just want a little side income, fantastic. Um, I kind of realized that it's like a snowball, right? It's every one property you might get a few $100s a month of cash flow. If you want thousands, 10,000 plus, you want a retirement income, you need more. So that's kind of where our goal with my wife came of having 50 rental units. That back then that became our kind of driving motivator. We figured if we have 50 units, that's about 150, 200,000 yearly cash flow, and that would have been enough for us to retire.
Hey, so you're doing really multifamily. So units is doors, it's not
Correct.
facilities, it's 50 doors,
50 doors, yes.
50 doors. And you're in San Diego, California. So
Yeah.
one of my first questions when I was talking to you before the show is like, are you doing this in San Diego or what? Because my inclination was San Diego and a lot of places in California and a lot of places out there like California, you can't do business there because the numbers don't make sense. So
Yeah.
you are going out of town to tell me about where your properties are. So I understand you started out maybe one in San Diego and then you took off because you
Yep.
found better places. You had to get over that one obstacle though. You had to get over that obstacle of doing business away from you, from afar.
Yeah, you definitely have to be realistic about where you live. You always hear people say it's easier to invest in your local market, and I think that's 100% true. Especially when you're starting out, it's real estate is kind of a very hands-on experience, especially when you're new. Management properties is hands-on. It's just safer. You're here, you can go see the property. You probably know the area where the property is better. If you kind of live in the town, you can drive by, that sort of thing. So I definitely think investing locally makes sense. And when me and my wife got out of the military, we moved back kind of to San Diego, settled in. We did buy a duplex that we house hacked, which means we kind of bought it with owner occupied financing, low down payment, lived in one of the units, rented out the other. So we made it work. We found kind of a property that we needed to fix up. But we kind of took a holistic look at the market, and that's when we became realistic with ourselves and decided there's no way we're going to buy 50 units, 50 doors in San Diego within the next 10 or even 20 years. It's just prices here too expensive. And not only that is
They probably don't cash flow that well either.
and they don't cash flow. So and even if you find a cash flowing property, it's like a 2 or 3 cap. Your cash on cash return sucks. You're just not getting for every dollar that you invest, you're not getting that much in cash flow. And you have to be realistic with yourself.
And your cash flow is such that if you have just 1 month vacant, you're way behind now. And if you have got, heaven forbid,
Absolutely.
vacancy to 3 months vacancy. So that's cool. So I'd like to talk about that. When it is easier to invest where you're at, but it's also easier when you're investing where you're at to start doing things that you shouldn't be doing as a real estate investor, mowing the yard yourself, picking up the trash,
Oh yeah.
going through and doing the stuff. So I mentor people on how to buy houses and sell them and carry the note, like you're a landlord. I teach people how to be the bank.
Right.
No right or wrong way. It's just, there's two sides to the coin. You can buy and hold, or you can create notes and take, and there's so many
Right.
there's so many strategies in this business. It's crazy. If you can't find one you like, it's probably because
Find your niche.
find your niche. But the problem is a lot of people won't settle into one niche, and then that's the big problem. But the other problem is there's a lot of people that are calling me. They're from places like Los Angeles or San Francisco or Miami or Las Vegas or New York. And it just, my strategy doesn't work there. Your strategy wasn't going to work in those places very well.
Exactly.
Either the prices or the laws can also work against you. There's a lot of times there's places the prices are not so bad, but the laws are horrible.
Yep.
And the occupant has more rights than you, the owner or the lien holder, you know? So I always tell them it's a little tougher to learn to do business out of state or out of, you know, from afar. But once you learn that, you really have the business that you should have been working to build in the first place, right? Because
Exactly. It kind of forces you into that.
it forces you into that. Like, so I would tell everyone out there, you know, if you were on a desert island with an internet hookup, you would figure out how to do it if that's what you needed to do to get off that island. And if you're overseas or you can figure it out. If you were in prison and you're getting out in 10 years and you don't want to have to work because your work skills aren't big, and you had an internet hookup, you could figure out how to do this all and never leave a 10 by 10 square. You could figure it out, and you would if you had no choice. You know, you would figure it out.
Yeah, I think that's a very spot on perspective. It's, you know, once we kind of started investing out of state, we focused more on building systems, building the business, like you said, you know, building the processes to automate it, to really run without me and, you know, without our involvement, because we're really not there. So it does, in a way, kind of put you in a position where you're more focused on creating a sustainable model, you know, in terms of rental properties, how to create a portfolio of rentals that somebody else can manage for you, and you just collect the cash flow.
Yes. And at that point, you are actually a real business owner at that point. You know, you
Exactly.
a business, you're not working in a business. You're not, you know, you haven't created your own job. You really have a business. And that's what's really great. So one of the things that happens as entrepreneurs is we get into situations where we need things out there that either aren't available, or the things that are available are too expensive or more expensive than what we want to pay, or they don't do exactly what we want them to do. So you're out there looking at all these properties from afar and everything, and you figure out this template or some kind of template how you analyze properties, right?
Yeah.
And you invented a software where you go out and professionally analyze properties, and it's turned into quite a success, hasn't it?
It has. It's been a wild ride with that. You know what happened? It was exactly like you said. I was looking at a lot of properties. You know, sometimes a dozen a day. You know, just deals come across my table, and I needed a software solution that I could quickly analyze each property. You know, obviously run several acquisition scenarios, get my cash flow numbers, get my returns, but also do things like look up rental comps, look up sales comps, you know, figure out what's the max offer price that I can put on this property, kind of create a report I could send out to my lender, or my wife, even for that matter, you know, who was my business partner at the time. And I just didn't find anything like that. You know, I started with Excel, like I think most of us have. It's just kind of the bread and butter, and it works to a point. You just get, you know, where you want to save your analysis, you want to copy stuff. It becomes a hassle when you're dealing with a large volume. You want to do things quickly, and that's where the idea for the you know, software that I wrote and the company that I founded started. It started from my personal need. I really didn't expect it to go anywhere. It's basically started with a mobile app that I built. You know, I kind of have a software developer background, so I just did all the development myself. Started using it myself and showed it to a few people, just other investors, friends. They loved it, and that's when I thought, wow, you know, maybe I should polish it up, add the features, you know, create a full product around this, and start marketing to people. And that's exactly what happened. And like you said, it's been quite successful. You know, we've, especially in the past year, we've grown to over 100,000 users, primarily in North America. It's investors and real estate agents who work with investors use the software to analyze rentals, flips, wholesale deals, multifamily, commercial, basically any type of property that they want to run cash flow projections, profit projections from flips, and then do a whole, host of features around the analysis. That was one of the things that I really wanted to focus on, is built a platform that was geared, towards analysis in one complete solution. So you want rental comps, we got them. You want sales comps, we got those. You want to create a report, you got it. You want to look at, 30, 35, 40-year projections into the future, analyze your exit strategy, see how your rental properties will perform, we got that. So it's a kind of an all-in-one software program for analyzing properties that you can use both on your computer and on your phone, and all the data syncs obviously kind of with modern technology. So you can, you're driving around, you start analyzing a property on your mobile, you come home, pull it up on your computer, and kind of continue from there.
So I want everyone to go to REinvestorSummit.com/pro analysis, PROANALYSIS. So one more time, REinvestorSummit.com/pro analysis. Go there. It's got a free trial level that you can pick.
Exactly.
And then the good news is, if you go the whole way and buy the whole big kahuna and get everything, it's $19 a month for a real professional, accurate analysis of properties at will. That's just stupid. That's just a stupid price to pay. If you don't have a tool like that in your tool belt, I think you're seriously screwing up, because one of the things that hurts a lot of the new people out there, even the old guys like me, is when we miscalculate that value. Everything starts with the estimation of the value. So if you want to know, when you're starting out in the real estate business, if you want to know what you need to learn first, you need to learn how to assess value, because if you can't get that right, everything after that screwed up.
Yeah, and you know what? We really kind of built a lot of tools specifically for new investors into the software. We got a glossary that shows you every single formula we use. So, it's not a black box. It's we know that, as an investor, you want to know how the math is done. So we show all the math so you can actually learn as you go, what these numbers mean, how they're calculated.
Why
so
they're
it's
calculated?
Exactly. So it's very, kind of beginner friendly. It's not like we just throw you in and expect you to know everything. We want to teach you in the process. And, as far as pricing, like you mentioned, we try to keep it very low, very reasonable. We have a free tier. It's a free forever tier, actually, not a trial. It's literally,
I knew
right.
it's free forever. You can move up to the
yeah, and it's a natural progression. As your business grows, as you're analyzing more properties, as you need more advanced tools, then you can look at one of our paid subscriptions. But it's less than probably what you pay for lunch on one day, and you get a full suite of analysis tools on your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on any device you use.
All right, so go to REinvestorSummit.com/pro analysis and check it out. That guys, that'll take you over the show notes. And just so you know, Anton, we can put anything over there. We can put, if you have speaking engagements, if you have a webinar that you want people to come to, if you have something free you want to give away, if you write a book, just call my people to get with your people to put it all in there. Whatever you want. So do you have any other things that you give away? Do you have some giveaways or?
No, I think we'll just do the DealCheck. We'll throw you, we'll guys create you a promo code, so it's a little discount if they want to upgrade.
Sure.
I think I'm good with that.
All right, cool. So yeah, what else can you ask for? You're gonna get a chance to get a free property analysis,
right,
for life if you want, till you're ready to move up. So do you ever own or finance houses? That's kind of what I specialize in. I sell houses with 30-year fixed financing. I wanted to ask you, do you know anybody that does that? Because someone said they don't think anyone else was doing it. I'm sure someone else is. I just haven't heard of them.
Selling with owner financing?
Yeah, we sell our properties with 30-year fixed owner financing, no balloon, it's just 30-year fixed.
Well, to be honest with you, I've yet to sell a property myself.
I know your MO. You're the buy and hold.
Right. But no, I've looked at owner financing. A few of the people I bought property from, we had talks about it, just never kind of we never ended up using it. But I know it's there. I've met people who actually, that's all they do, is they only buy with owner financing. So I don't think you're the only one. If that's what I think, it's a
Buying
great
with owner
strategy.
financing. I'm talking about selling.
No, yeah, and I've met people who that is their exit strategy. That is, if they want to, they own a property maybe 5-10 years, uh, and then they decide to sell it instead of just outright. They do an owner financing on it to other investors.
Yeah, most of the people I know, they want to sell the note or they want to liquidate. But I'm sure I'm trying to find some people that are out there doing it so I can interview them as well. But
I'll look in my network to see, I'll ping a few people, send them your way if they've done that quite a few times. But I know I've thought of it, kind of looking at our portfolio of 10 years from now, I decide, hey, we don't want to do the whole landlord thing anymore. I probably actually would prefer to sell them with a note, like with owner financing, and just collect the the paycheck,
yeah,
rather than just take the money and take the tax cut, take the tax hit, and then try to figure out what to do with the money.
yeah, that's the thing.
Exactly.
My rental is my forever play, because these notes are temporary,
Mm-hmm.
expire sometime, and my flips are one-time checks. So my forever play is rentals as well, but it's mini storages and boat storages around the lake.
Gotcha.
So, and people says, man, why don't you sell that? You'd be worth a fortune. I said, yeah, I'd be worth a fortune, and then the government would take a big chunk of that fortune, and
Yep.
then I'd figure out what to do with the money that was left over, and I already got it, and the best something I know how to handle. So why go through all that just so I could have that feeling of having all that money in one place for a brief moment? Because I got to go put it somewhere.
Exactly. No, I think that's a great strategy. It's something I'm just kind of, not there yet, I guess, because we haven't sold anything, but I've definitely looked into that, and I had this exact same thought of, hey, like, why don't we do this instead of just liquidating them? When do we do that?
Yeah. How long you been in the business?
We've been doing real estate, kind of aggressively for about 5 years.
Man, hats off to you. It took me a long time to figure out what you're figured out in a relatively short period of time. They didn't have the I'm not making excuses, but I'm just saying today people have the internet.
Oh yeah.
More information. You guys that are out there now listening, the field's not even comparable to the field that I had to start on 22 years ago. I mean, there's people giving very freely of their knowledge. There's a lot of information out there. There's also some bad information, so be careful. Just kind of run it through the mill first before you take everything for granted. I mean, I know when I first got in, the gurus would tell you all about the money they were making, but they wouldn't tell you about how they lost it.
Unless you buy the $10,000 course, right, and the seminar.
Yeah, but even then, they wouldn't hardly tell you about
exactly.
The models. They were all just selling you like how glorious everything was, and they didn't tell you that if you go out at night, you get beat up.
Yeah, it was definitely a different time from what I hear, and it's actually, kudos to folks like you who started and became successful in that time without all this information and all these tools and software programs, being available. I think it was actually much harder.
Well, yeah, in a way it was, but there was also during that time, I could open up the classifieds at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by noon I'd have a deal, hands down. And if I screwed up, I'd have 2 deals, and I'd be worried about how I was going to fund them all. You know what I mean? And so it had its pluses and its minuses, because there certainly wasn't. Today, there's a house flipper, seems like on every corner. A
lot of competition.
A lot of competition. So it had its pluses and it had its minuses back in the day. All right, my friend, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. And, as we're going to wind it up here, is there anything I've left out or anything you wanted to share that I just didn't get to?
No, I'd say, one thing I always like to say to new folks, especially those starting out, is the most important thing, in my opinion. It's kind of cliche, but it is starting out, and it is buying that first property. And don't be afraid to start small. Nowadays you go online, like you said, and you read about people buying 200-unit apartment complexes, doing this and that, and doing multi-million-dollar flips. And there's nothing wrong with starting small, buying a small house, a single family as your first rental property, starting your, getting your 200 or whatever, cash flow check every month, and just building from there. It's a learning experience more than anything. And I think the, kind of the hands-on education you get from actually buying the deals, managing the properties, going through that whole process is more valuable than actually the cash flow you get from those few properties, because that's going to create a foundation and set you up for scaling your portfolio later, for getting into those bigger deals, give you the confidence, investing locally or out of state. It's all about starting, and, we're all going to make mistakes. It's kind of a given, and it's just all about learning it, and becoming a better investor.
Yeah, I think you could liken it to conditioning or strength training. You
Yeah.
don't start off bench pressing 300 pounds, and you don't start off running a marathon. I mean, you got to start off in little bitty pieces, something that you can handle, that's not going to defeat you immediately because it's so big or because you don't know, and something that you can find a little reward at the end of. It doesn't have, like you said, it's really not about the money on the first deal. It's that you do the first deal and you get through
Exactly.
to the end, and that process will seem very difficult the first time. It'll seem a little less difficult the second time. Third or fourth or fifth time, it just starts to become routine, and now it's just an assembly.
Yeah.
These are the steps we go through, and it's just, so
Exactly.
so just start. All right, my friend, I appreciate you taking the time to be on.
Mitch, I had a great time. Thanks for inviting me.
Again, I want you guys to check out this this software that you can analyze these properties. It's reinvestorsummit.com/pro analysis, PROANALYSIS. Go there. It's got a free option. You can get in that software and check it out, and you can move up whenever you want or never. Just stay where you're at. I guess that's about it. I'd like to say thank you very much to taxfreefuture.com. Please check out taxfreefuture.com, tax deferred and tax-free real estate investing, because you will not believe what your financial advisors are not telling you. All right, boys and girls, this is Mitch Stephen with the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. Say goodbye to Anton Ivanov, and we're out of here.
Take care.
Bye now.